Hey everyone, so this is going to be my third video. I'm sorry if it's kind of weird, but I just thought I'd make this video to read another poem. I had read a poem earlier as my first video, so here's another poem that I'm going to read. It's sort of more of how do I explain it? A metaphoric poem that describes, well, you'll see when I read it. So, I think you can probably already guess anyway by what I'm going to title this video anyway. So, let's just get right into it. So let me just get to the point and go ahead and read this. This is a poem I called The Sky People. It sounds like a cheesy title, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. So here it is, The Sky People. The sky exploded with bright colors of all different kinds everywhere. Some people screamed and ran away, while others could only stare. And then a loud screech as colorful objects came zooming down, crashing into the forest nearby, frightening everyone in the town. The ground people came running towards the crash site, which they called Weird. There they found several sky people, so misunderstood, so feared. The ground people approached one of them, an adult male, calm and quiet, while the other beings looked on, knowing that this male was the pilot. The pilot of the ship that crashed now listened closely to their questions about life, death, and the universe, and yet was also being given suggestions. Suggestions by the ground people of how to behave on their planet, what to do, what to say, what to think, their words as rough as granite. Telling the pilot and his people what they can or cannot do, what they can or cannot know. To them, everything was brand new. The ground people silenced them for every time they tried to speak, in hopes of proving the ground people wrong, but instead, they were only seen as meek. The ground people then attacked the sky people, assuming that they had nothing to say, pinning them down, leaving bruises and cuts for every time they did not act a certain way. For every time that they were their true selves, they were silenced, abused, and oppressed, locked away in the darkness, away from the lights that they called home, leaving them depressed. Indeed, the abuse and torture and harassment caused depression, anxiety, and rage within the sky people, violently denied their rights, their wills, their ways. And yet, despite this, at the same time, those who called these beings weird and strange, who gave commands to them about how to act, also demanded answers about fate. But while the sky people were seen as abnormal by the ground people who bossed them around, in reality, the sky people were perfectly fine, no different from anyone else, safe and sound. For the question of normal really depends on the individual person, whoever they are, whether that person is of the sky or of the ground. They are all equal, near and far. And so, the beings that crashed on the ground, the pilot and the other sky people, began educating the ground people instead, telling them, actually, we are all equal. All the sky people then went on to tell them, stop assuming our rights or that we are weak, telling us what to do, what to say, or how to act. We are not abnormal. We are unique. So, that's the end of the poem. And as you might have guessed from what I'm going to title this video, it's basically sort of a metaphor about autism and surviving school abuse. When I was in elementary school, teachers just assumed that I had nothing to say, and I'm sure that's what many people assume about many autistic people, that we have nothing to say, or that we wouldn't possibly know how to, fathom other things, or that they, like neurotypical people, somehow have the right to assume and assert what our rights are, that we have no rights or that we have no will of our own. And so that's how it was in the schools that I went to, like I remember being locked in secluded rooms. I remember being pinned face down on the floor so that I couldn't breathe. And, that was just the standard of practice. That was just the standard practice of how many of our schools treat students. I'm not saying all of them, because of course that's not true. There are many great schools out there who genuinely do care about the students and genuinely treat them very well. I've heard of this one school in Pennsylvania that doesn't use any sort of restraint or seclusion on any of the students. And it's an autism school, and I think that's great that they don't use those practices and that they're considered abusive, because quite frankly, they are abusive. It is child abuse, regardless of which side of the argument anyone is on. It is child abuse, and it needs to stop. So I'm sorry if I ramble on about that, but my point is that, please don't see us as abnormal when really we're more alike than different. And that's okay.